So, you're a fresh adventurer, straight out of the Adventurers Academy. Just a shirt on your back and a pointy hat on your head. With no extra possessions, you and your party set out to get some sick loot. Unfortunately, through some freak wizard accident or something, one of your party members began to convulse and twist before you. Undergoing a horrid transformation, you watched as your party's barbarian, Gronad the Hefty, grew to immense size, and to be reptilian in nature, Gronad the Hefty had become Gronad the Tarrasque. Gone mad with the power of having 5 attacks per turn, your teammate turns against you. With the Tarrasque breathing down your neck, you came to the grim realization that you have no idea what to expect from that type of monster. Flipping through your monster manual, you only found entries for slimes, skeletons, and giant rats. Typical. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Monsters Misguided. Today's topic, the Tarrasque. Why am I starting with the Tarrasque, you ask? Tarrasque, you ask? Surely, that's way too far of a jump for episode 1. Well, it's like my grandma always said, start big and with as many teeth and as much resemblance to the apocalypse as possible. Besides, what you'll learn here will help you in any situation involving a Tarrasque. For the first episode, we're going to be talking about the best protocol to follow when dealing with a Tarrasque, as verified and published by the great wizard Hammond. Step 1. Expend as many spells and actions as you need to put as much distance between you and the subject as possible. If you have access to Dimension Door or Gate, pop one of those bad boys and get out. It's somebody else's problem now. Step 1A. Also, if you or someone in your party has access to Wish, just use that. And if your DM has any sort of empathy, they'll let you wish the Tarrasque out of existence. Or maybe they won't. I don't know what you did for them to think that you deserve to get attacked by a Tarrasque. If you're at this point, Wish might not help you. Step 2. Assuming you didn't have Wish or anything that can actually help, congratulations on making it this far. Step 2 is simple. Keep moving. Don't go pack up your bedroll. Don't go say bye to that shopkeeper you really like because he gave you an extra couple potatoes that one time. He's probably dead anyway. And that's it for the general Tarrasque protocol. Super simple stuff. But let's imagine you actually have the chutzpah to go toe to razor tip toe with this thing. Couple points to cover. The Tarrasque cannot be charmed, paralyzed, frightened, or poisoned. It's also immune to fire damage, poison damage, and bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical weapons. So that's cool. It also gets blind sight for 120 feet, because of course it does. It also gets a +9 to wisdom and charisma saving throws, and also gets 3 legendary actions as well as 3 legendary resistances per day. On top of that, all of its attacks get 19 added to its rolls, guaranteeing any standard attack to hit. I could go on, but I'm sure you get the idea. It's nearly unkillable, unless you're Jerome Steinwick. On the continent of Yornhelm, where I was born, there's only been one recorded instance of anyone successfully defeating a Tarrasque. Jerome Steinwick was the court jester of a castle belonging to a kingdom 500 years past. After his kingdom was raided by the most powerful goblin attack in history, he went on to expand his toolkit to wizardry. Over the course of his studies, he made many friends, traveling the world with them under the name Team Rockhard, until one day, after 2 years of travel and training, he and his group were put onto the most harrowing journey yet. They were tasked with preventing the apocalypse at the hand of an ancient creature. During the briefing, Jerome recognized which creature they had to face, and went pale. I'll give you a hint. 10 stories tall, spiked back, 5 attacks per turn, +19, ringing any bells? Anyway, the order of monks that gave the party the quest sent them to the dunes of the greater Cerulean Desert, a whole 2 months' journey away from the monastery they were currently staying at. Now, Jerome Steinwick, up until this point, had been laughed at for being the fool of the party, unintentionally more often than not. Once the journey started, however, Jerome had a moment of clarity. The monks were sending them to certain doom, so he began to form a plan. He had to build a weapon to kill the creature for good. Though the party, at the time, were all level 17, none of them could think of anything, so Jerome got to work. Every moment that he had a bit of time to himself during the journey, Jerome used it to work on a spell. The rest of the party pried as often as they could, trying to see what he was working on, but he kept it a secret. Even when they yelled at him for spending all of his earnings from odd jobs and side quests on whatever it was he was making, he kept it a secret, sinking all of his funds, and sometimes others, into his project. Eventually, after sacrificing a great amount of time, blood, and gold, Jerome had finished the spell. After a grueling 2 months and a permadeath Kenku Ranger, the self-titled Team Rockhard stood at the edge of a massive sand dune, overlooking the Devil's Drop-Off. Placing the summoning stone to his chest, as the monks instructed, the party's paladin spoke the command word, and watched as the sands shifted. Before their eyes, the desert erupted, and forth came Marek Al, the dread demon of the desert. Catching the scent of the group on the wind and in need of a meal after his 1,000-year slumber, Marek Al charged at them, sandstone dislodging from his limbs and sand pouring from his back as he ran. With a deep breath, Jerome stepped forward and began an incantation unfamiliar to the party. Marek Al grew closer. The party began to draw weapons and prepare spells, but Jerome just shouted at them to get back and continued the spell. Soon enough, a glowing white outline of a semicircle formed between them and the Tarrasque, 500 feet tall into the sky. With a final snap, Jerome opened the portal, causing the outline to fill with a white glow for a moment before quickly fading to the vista of a sea of orange sky, smattered with black clouds and bisected by a diagonal ground cracked and bleeding with lava torrents. All but Jerome looked on in a mixture of horror and awe as a blast of heat washed over all of them from the appearance of the massive dimensional rift. Suddenly, the sound of the charging, roaring beast went completely silent, and the desert was calm. Jerome had tricked him into running headfirst into the realm of Gehenna, at the cost of 25,000 gold and all of the magical essence inside his body. This wasn't a huge problem, as this was the last quest for Team Rockhard anyway. The campaign reached its natural close over the next couple sessions. In short, the Tarrasque is a creature designed to be one of, if not the ultimate endgame baddie, and is in no way meant to be defeated by conventional means. Killing it, or in this case trapping it, requires outside-the-box thinking and more than some swords. Of course, this isn't to say it's impossible to kill with standard baddie killing procedure, it's to say that it becomes a much more memorable and unique experience when you don't do it like that. On top of all of that, what I loved about this story was the fact that Jerome was created as a joke character, created off the idea of half-orc Jesus. He didn't have any real character traits or flaws, as the player wasn't interested in that at the start. By the end, however, after a 2-year campaign, he'd become a fully fleshed out character, one aware of stakes and one ready to sacrifice his own magical abilities to save the world. So I guess this video has 2 messages. Its first being, for maximum fun, the Tarrasque should be dealt with in the craziest way possible. Step outside the box for this guy. Secondly, you can turn a joke character into a character with weight in the world, and I'd advise you to do so. Joke characters turned realistic are often some of the best I've seen. This has been the first episode of Monsters Misguided. I'll see you all next week with another video. Bye-bye! Hey everyone, I just want to say thank you for waiting a little extra time. I got kind of backed up and sidetracked in the week making this, so it ended up being put out on today, Monday, rather than last week like I said. I think I may have bit off more than I could chew for the first episode of this, making a video that's nearly 7 minutes long, just shy. But, you know, after, it takes one rocky start, you can get the hang of things. So I think after this one, the videos will be much more consistent and you will see weekly uploads. You can count on that. I'm going to keep them short, except for, I think I'll do one a month that's much longer than the ones I've put out. So it will be like animatics will be like 1 to 2 minutes, and then Monster, Misguided, and other series, those will be like 4 minutes. And I think at the end, when at the end of the month, or whenever I start picking up D&D story videos, those will be long like this one, with the more story time pacing of the pictures, where it's, they're slower, the pictures have more color detail and whatnot, like you saw here. Another news, I've started my Patreon, so if you want to go over there and throw some money my way to support the channel, feel free. I have 3 tiers open right now. I think that's it. Anyway, see you next week with an upload on time. Don't worry.